So as we move on then, we've got Night Elves and Wisps.
Yep.
One unique trait of these Night Elves is worth particular note. While most other people's souls are born across the veil as expected, certain Night Elves may also linger in the mortal realm in a soul shape they refer to as a wisp. So wisps are actually soul shapes. It's just that those soul shapes are seemingly so bound to, like, the life-death cycle of the Azerothian forest that they stay there. It is in this author's opinion that this phenomenon is caused by the soul's intrinsic bond with their magical nature, with the magical nature of its home forest, thus creating a tether that allows the wisp to remain among the living. Though it should be acknowledged, I cannot entirely rule out the interference of Elune, their revered deity, in this matter. Now, there is a final line that's big. So is Elune kind of looking out for Azeroth? Because if this wisp business is unique to Azeroth, and it is certainly treated as if it is a bit unique and weird here, then, like, Archon being defeated in War 3 is kind of to do with Elune allowing this thing to happen. But to go on, as we well know, beings of her origin cannot, under any circumstances, be trusted.
Dun dun dun.
What is Elune?
What is Elune? Is she a bad? Is she a good? Is she either? Is she neither?
So,
Who is she? What is she?
these brokers, are we to assume they're death entities? Like, I think thus far, yeah.
Hard to say, just because I'm so sure they're remnants left by first ones in some capacity.
Yeah.
That they don't seem in any way intrinsically connected to death, and also they seem to be able to traverse realms of the living.
But they have an amnesia thing, don't they? Where they don't actually know their origins.
Yeah, but, well, actually, that's a kind of thing where additional research into flora such as the Night Elven Elurel, known in their native language Darnassian, verified later, as the Lover's Leaf and the Moonpet Lily seem especially lucrative to acquire for future ventures, which implies that the brokers can travel outside the realms of death. No other entity of death outside of the Kyrian with specific purpose have done that. So I don't think they are... they could be related to death, but I think they are, you know, basically tiny bits of death, but are free to come and go as they please. So obviously that's how they capture stuff for the Maldraxxus arena, etc., etc.
So perhaps remnants of the first ones who, you know, at some point this collective mind was wiped. They don't. I'm fairly sure they don't know what their origins are, and they're actually in a bit of a quest for knowledge themselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting stuff. Why would they have a big problem with Elune? You know, beings of her origin. What does that mean? What is the origin of Elune?
Elune's a dreadlord, Lamau.
So like this is totally, you know, teasing something. It's just right now it's pretty impossible. Like Elune, we thought, you know, is Elune an eternal one who kind of betrayed the rest and pissed off, and that's why because the Winter Queen was like personally offended, and there's like a grudge between the two of them. So they were obviously characters who were close enough to each other at some point, which does mean they have to be cosmologically similar enough. And it does make me think Winter Queen, Summer Queen, you know, they are that sort of life-death sort of bridge for, like, you know, the natural order of thing, or the natural, you know, like the cycle of nature or whatever.
I mean, also people point out that the Maldraxxi can move to realms that aren't death related. You know, like Draka did the attack on the demons and stuff, so I will say they're kind of technically unique because they are Maldraxxi, and maybe necromancy is something to do with being able to manifest the power of Maldraxxus outside of...
Yeah, so big things about Elune, basically, is the thing to take away from that.
As
we move on...
I don't really have a point. I just have a bit that's kind of bugging me about how much this tease is going on. As we well know, beings of her origin cannot under any circumstances be trusted. I'm honestly just tired that it's beings of her origin, because, like, oh, what's her origin? I'm like, come on now.
It's like a little bit of an overt, hey, make a speculation video on this, please.
Yeah, I'm just like, come on. Like, stop leaving. I don't want to follow breadcrumbs forever.
Well, I think it's just that if the entire meal is breadcrumbs, you'll still be hungry at the end, is maybe the way to put it.
Yeah.
So we have another one here for the mortal conceptualization of death, which is going to be hard to read because my eyes are bad and this is in cursive. Of secondary concern is the difference in nomenclature that exists between our kind and the mortals. While we, of course, know death to be the eternal force of magic woven throughout the very fabric of the Shadowlands and beyond, mortals have an entirely different and shockingly obtuse interpretation. They use the word death to signify the end of their existence within the mortal plane. My apologies, Overseer, if you find that revelation to be as distasteful as I do. As I'm a broker and I know a lot of things. But I fear that to accurately convey information on mortal perceptions, I must, from time to time, include observations from their own flawed perspective. So here's the thing. If you take the belief that this is the broker's own flawed perspective, then this is just some dickhead's opinion. There is totally a way you could read this and think that, like, oh, okay, this is the people writing the book laughing at how little we know about the lore they've created, even though they haven't told us. I really hope it's the former, not the latter. I will take it in good faith that it is the former.
I think that's something of a through line from what I've seen with the Grimoire so far. It's very much the brokers being, ha ha ha, look at these plebs. They know nothing. They know nothing. And I will say my Burner Black impression may not be spot on there, but plebs know nothing.
It's a bit weird. I guess it's that sort of thing. Like, if you've been really invested in this world and then a book comes out that's just kind of like, hey, all the shit you know is kind of a bit wrong and you're stupid. It's like, even if that is an in-universe book and the opinion of something, like, if we found this in-game, I think it would have a different impact on people than when they read it. Because when you read it, it's like, it's a product that I, a human, purchased and, like, you know, read like it's a book. So, it's interesting. I think you just, you know, in my head, like, I really am treating it as just, like, a broker and that this is just a perspective. And that this is not trustworthy. Or, you know, that this is very much their blinkers-on perspective of things. So, there you go. Death is the eternal force of magic woven throughout the very fabric of the Shadowlands and beyond.
Yeah, so this, I don't know, it's...
So what does that mean?
Yeah, that's where I'm kind of trying to wrap my head around this in a way that makes sense. It's like, so they use the word death to signify the end of their existence within the mortal plane.
Well, actually, that's it. They're just a very top level view, being like, no, death's just this type of magic. It's this type of force. They use the word death to signify when they don't exist in that plane. How silly. They don't fully understand it. Which I guess is true at that point of the Shadowlands. But I think that's basically the read. Where it's, you know, we see death as a personal thing in relation to us, whereas death is actually this broader ecology and force. And they kind of look down on us having this sort of very blinkered, selfish view of it. I think that's basically the vibe.
Yeah. Very, very strange.
Yeah, a bit odd. The Archon then, which I certainly... No, I can read this. Doesn't help when I have one of those... You know those eye headaches?
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah, just get your reading glasses on, old man.
Yes.
Time is now, old man.
The progenitors...
Look at this.
This is really small, the iPad. The progenitors must have known that oversight of this pivotal process would require an indomitable spirit with an unwavering adherence to duty and service to these mortal souls. The Archon of Bastion, a statuesque being known as Carista, the Firstborn, would embody that spirit. She established the path all Kyrian were to follow, never allowing her people to stray from the singular focus... the purpose of Bastion.
Her singular focus.
Her singular focus on the...
You know, means to say it's her focus.
So she's flawed and stupid, as we all knew.
She's dumb as a ton of bricks, like, dumb as a can of beans, like...
Yeah. She's very much stupid.
There's some ideas going around that basically mean all of the whole of Shadowlands is entirely the Kyrians' fault, and they could have stopped it at any point in time, but they didn't.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
Yeah, that's pretty much that. So there's the Archon and the Paragons. I don't think there's a massive amount to say there other than, yeah, it's just further confirmation that the Archon was very blinded and stupid.
Yep, big dumb.
As a character. Then next, we got the Forsworn. In the wake of the anima drought and the lack of new souls arriving in Bastion, fear and doubt spread like a plague through the aspirants. And even into the ranks of the Ascended. These darkened Kyrian joined together as the Forsworn, and their presence has torn a great schism in the ranks of the Kyrian between the adherents to the path and those who forsook it, whatever, to save Bastion from what they see as a flawed system. The Forsworn believe that the Archon's edict to shed their mortal memories is unjust, a crime that has robbed them of their individuality, a point that even I admittedly find convincing, and so did the Archon's own paragon of loyalty, Devos. Though I was not personally privy to the events that led to Devos' rise and fall, the account that follows is based on details I gleaned from the living mortals who forged a covenant with Bastion. It seems the Paragon's darkening resulted from her interactions with the Azerothian named Uther the Lightbringer. He's here.
Is that his name, Uther Lightbringer?
Yeah.
I thought he's called Uther.
No, Uther the Lightbringer is his name. So, though mortal souls have always arrived in the Carian realm intact, Davos discovered that Uther's life had been ended by a weapon of the Maw, leaving his soul wounded and perhaps not entirely intact. When Devos brought this matter before the Archon, the Paragon was forcefully reminded that the eternal charge of the Carian does not include questioning the Arbiter's judgment. Estranged from the path she had served so loyally, Devos conscripted Uther to her cause and secretly gave her oath to the Banished One. Though it appears not all Forsworn realized their rebellion was serving the jailer, he nonetheless benefited from the chaos and disharmony that infected the realm, including an attack on the Temple of Courage by the Necrolords of Maldraxxus, made possible due to the sabotage of Bastion's defenses by the Forsworn. Ultimately, the Forsworn assault on the Spires of Ascension ended in defeat. Devos and the Darkened Carian who followed her fell at the hands of Azerothian champions. Yet it seems their philosophies may be taking root in Bastion. After striking down Devos, it is said the Paragon openly admitted that there may be value in Carian retaining the memories from their mortal lives. If true, such a shift in perspective may provide opportunities our cartel could use to their advantage. And there's a little note in the margin here. For aeons, we have been told to purify ourselves, to let go of our own memories, our identities, our loved ones, all in the name of service. But what do we serve? An impotent arbiter? An oppressive law? Our sacrifices were made for nothing.
I believe that's just the Devil's
True.
Code, right?
True. Yeah, Devil's Code.
Cool.
Big true. True.
Yeah, there's not really
Not much to dive into. True.
That's just a retelling of what's going on, basically. That's just the broker going, here's what the crack was, everyone. You're like,
Out.
sweet.